What is going on? I want to welcome you to a brand new series called Let's Talk, where each and every Thursday, we're just going to sit here and we're going to talk about whatever I want. And this week, we're going to talk about the New Orleans Pelicans. Back in 2019, Anthony Davis shocked the NBA world by requesting a trade in the offseason to the Los Angeles Lakers. And the New Orleans Pelicans were in a situation where they had no choice but to accept. So, in a huge haul, the Los Angeles Lakers are able to bring back Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and a series of draft picks. And not only that, but the New Orleans Pelicans win the NBA lottery and get the pleasure to draft another once-in-a-generation type player in New Orleans. But now, after a couple of really weird seasons and their third NBA coaching hire in the past 3 years, the New Orleans Pelicans find themselves in a very weird situation, with a lot of reports of Zion Williamson not really being happy in New Orleans. It might be time to start raising the alarm over in the Big Easy. So the ideas that New Orleans have in their head is, okay, well, we're going to trade one of our best players in Jrue Holiday, and we're going to bring back a haul of picks, but also we're going to bring in some other veteran guys on this team to make us better now, but also to help our young guys get better in the future. So not only do they trade Jrue Holiday, but they also get Eric Bledsoe and Steven Adams to come in to this young core to help and try and make a playoff push. And on top of that, they bring in Stan Van Gundy, who, let's be honest, seemed like a weird hire from the start. I mean, here's a guy who we'll call Stan Van Gundy. How about eccentric? Let's use that word. Because simply put, Stan Van Gundy just never seemed like a natural coach for this team. A guy that is all about winning now and winning at all costs, has been known to not be extremely patient with young rebuilds. I mean, as a Pistons fan, I can tell you that if someone got a reach-in foul as a rookie, they were out for the rest of the game. And then on top of it all, just a guy that's been known to not get along super great with stars in the past, with Dwight Howard publicly being known for wanting him fired. It just never seemed like it was going to work. And the 2020 NBA season was also kind of a disaster for New Orleans as well. In the offseason, the New Orleans Pelicans named Willie Green as their new head coach, and all reports in free agency is that they were going to go after a veteran point guard. Now, the belief was that Lonzo Ball was going to be out of the Pelicans, that he was probably going to go to either the Knicks, the Bulls, or the Clippers. And quite frankly, it was kind of a questionable move. I mean, in my opinion, at least. Lonzo Ball is a really good point guard who, in my opinion, has the opportunity to become an all-star in this league. With his much improved shooting, his dynamic playmaking, his athletic frame, and his overall IQ of the game. And on top of that, his great on-ball defense. It just seemed like a guy that he really didn't want to walk. And to be honest, they really didn't let him walk for anything super great. He was a restricted free agent, and the trade that they got in return really just wasn't all that great. And so now they were in a situation where, okay, what's the plan here? Well, all reports suggested that they were going to go after a veteran point guard, the likes of Chris Paul or Kyle Lowry. And instead, the New Orleans Pelicans got Devontae Graham. Yeah, not quite Chris Paul, not quite Kyle Lowry. And then on top of that, they trade Steven Adams, who to me was a really good player and also a really good anchor in the paint. They trade him to Memphis along with Eric Bledsoe. In return, they also bring back a Jonas Valanciunas, which is a good fit for this team and can help spread the floor a little bit more for Zion, is probably a better fit than Steven Adams, but that means that both of the guys that you brought in last year in the Jrue Holiday trade are now gone. So you kind of screwed that trade up. You kind of screwed off this offseason with all of the moves that you made, or in this case, didn't make. You're on your third head coach in 3 years. yes, you signed an extension with Brandon Ingram, but do you think he's going to want to stay in this mess when this is done? And to top it all off, all reports suggest that Zion Williamson might not be super happy in New Orleans. I mean, heck, the guy didn't even seem thrilled that New Orleans was the team that ended up getting the number 1 pick. It was the worst kept secret in that draft that Zion Williamson wanted to become a New York Knick. And when that team fell off the draft lottery, when they got the 3rd pick, you can see Zion Williamson audibly sighing and laughing as if, oh man, there goes the team that I want to play for. So, not great, especially when you had your last franchise player spend almost an entire season, especially towards the trade deadline, vocally saying that he didn't want to be a Pelican anymore. So now you had a once-in-a-generation player that fell in your lap, that wanted to leave and left. And then, right when you get another once-in-a-generation type player fall in your lap, he wants to leave too. So that begs the question, what's the common denominator here? And the answer isn't really that hard to find. It's that, look, when you're a small market team, you have a responsibility to really make sure that if you're going to bring in a draft pick, especially to the caliber of a Zion Williamson or to the caliber of an Anthony Davis, you have to do everything in your power to make that player happy, to make that player be glad that they are representing your jersey and they are representing your city. And guess what New Orleans has done? None of it. Now, Anthony Davis was a little bit of a complicated situation. They really did everything they could to try and put a good team around him, but after 8 or 9 years, it really just never happened. I mean, you brought in DeMarcus Cousins, which seemed like a really fun pairing, but it never seemed like it was going to be a championship team. DeMarcus Cousins goes out and tears his Achilles, and if that was all it took to really make that fall apart, then maybe it wasn't really something that was worth building in the first place. And then now you have Zion Williamson, who is an absolutely all-time great type of talent to come out of the draft. And all you've done so far is surround him with Brandon Ingram and then Lonzo Ball, who you got rid of easily, and then all of these other pieces that you really didn't believe in. On top of that, you had some other great pieces on your roster that you just let walk. Like, Christian Wood, who walked and went to Detroit and became a really good NBA player who could potentially be an all-star at some point. That was a guy that was in your system that you just said bye-bye. So now, if you're New Orleans, you're in a situation where, okay, you're on your 3rd head coach in 3 years. You have Willie Green after Alvin Gentry and Stan Van Gundy. You're in a situation where Devontae Graham, who is a good but not great player, is going to be your guard. So what are you going to do to fix this? Well, going forward, they're going to have to work really hard to get an actually really good veteran point guard on their team. But the problem is which veteran NBA point guard is going to want to make a trade request to come to the New Orleans Pelicans? I mean, Kyle Lowry, he's starting in Miami. We have Chris Paul that's very happy in Phoenix. And let's be honest, the market for veteran NBA point guards isn't really one that's very easy to dip into. I mean, those guys are generally, that is a rare commodity in this league. It's like getting a quarterback in the NFL. It's something that is heavily desired by every single team in the league. So unless New Orleans is really ready to dig deep into their assets and put something together, which they have never shown that they've truly wanted to do in the past, then they're going to be in a situation that's very difficult. And look, David Griffin is considered to be a good executive, or at least he has been. I mean, he helped bring LeBron James back to Cleveland. He helped put together a championship roster to LeBron's liking. But at the same time, it's very clear that he has not done a very good job as the GM of the New Orleans Pelicans. And based on his moves so far, I don't know why there's a whole lot of a reason to be inspired or to be hopeful about anything that he's done. So, if I'm a New Orleans Pelicans fan, I'm really worried because Zion Williamson is about to have to sign his rookie deal. And sure, you're going to have him on the books for at least 5 more years, But you don't know how long Zion is going to be healthy, especially with his injury past. I mean, the time he blew his shoe out at Duke, you know, the fact that he had to miss the first half of his rookie season. What happens if a guy like that with that much weight and that much torque goes out there and blows out his knee? What's your backup plan? Brandon Ingram? Brandon Ingram is great. Brandon Ingram is not going to be a best player on a championship team. You can only count on one hand the amount of guys that there are in this league that have either that type of talent or have done it. In fact, really, in this league, there was just a champion for the first time since 2008 that was not on a team with either LeBron James or Steph Curry. This was the first finals in 13 years without one of those two on an NBA team in the finals. So, those guys don't come around a whole lot. So if I'm the New Orleans Pelicans, I am doing everything in my power to build a contender in New Orleans. I am doing everything that Zion Williamson wants, everything that Zion Williamson needs. Even if he wants like a mansion on a boat, on a helicopter, I'm figuring out how to make that happen. Because he is our last chance. Because otherwise, if this doesn't work, who's to say that relocation isn't in the future? There have not been higher stakes for an NBA franchise in a long time. The last that I can think of is with LeBron James leaving Cleveland back in 2008. And not only did that tank the Cleveland Cavaliers franchise until he came back, that tanked the Cleveland economy. Businesses shut down, money was lost, revenue was down. That tanked Cleveland as a city. So imagine what happens if Zion leaves the Pelicans. There's not going to be much hope around that franchise, as there shouldn't be. So my question to you is, what do you think of the Pelicans? What do you think of the moves that they've made? What do you think the moves that they made this offseason? If you were the GM of the Pelicans, what kind of trades would you make? Who would you bring in? You know, personally, I would love to see a dynamic all-star type point guard around him. I would have loved to seen a move like bringing in like a Zach LaVine over the trade deadline. Something that would have been a risk, you know? Another dynamic scoring wing, but also someone that can bring up the ball for you. Someone that can run your offense. Because now with Zion out, Devontae Graham isn't exactly a dynamic point guard. I would really love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But hey, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next time from Half Court. Subscribe.